You've seen Jurassic Park. But what if the truth is even crazier? Amber isn't just pretty jewelry, it's nature's ultimate trap. Inside this golden fossilized resin, scientists have found geckos with sticky toes, baby birds frozen in mid-flight, even dinosaurs covered in feathers. One fossil even hints at a prehistoric plague, and another turned out to be such a shocking mistake it forced scientists to rethink everything. Could amber be the closest thing we'll ever get to a real-life Jurassic Park? Or should some secrets stay sealed forever? Amber is fossilized tree resin, hardened over tens of millions of years. Think of it as Earth's natural time capsule. The movie gave us the fantasy of cloning dinosaurs from mosquito blood, but the truth is stranger. DNA doesn't last that long, so no raptors in theme parks, at least not yet. But what amber can preserve is almost everything else. Feathers, scales, claws, even traces of proteins and bacteria. It's a freeze frame of life and death that can last for 100 million years. Let's take a look at 5 of the most mind-blowing fossils ever found in amber. The first takes us to Russia, where scientists uncovered the partial body of a tiny gecko trapped between 54 and 34 million years ago. Just 15 millimeters long, smaller than a fingernail but perfectly preserved right down to its scales and unblinking eyes. They named it Gecko balticus. Under the microscope you can even see the broad sticky toe pads with their microscopic filaments, the same system modern geckos use to defy gravity and cling to glass windows. This proves geckos were already tree climbers at least 50 million years ago. And remember, this was during a greenhouse world, when Earth was warmer and ice-free even at high latitudes. Imagine geckos scurrying through what is now northern Russia, an environment that today is more snow than sunshine. Would you want this fossil on your desk, staring back at you for eternity? Or would you rather have a dinosaur tail trapped in amber? Because yes, the second fossil is exactly that. A dinosaur's tail, complete with delicate feathers, preserved for 99 million years in amber from Myanmar. It most likely belonged to a small Maniraptoran dinosaur, a cousin of raptors. Not a bird, definitely dinosaur. And these weren't flight feathers, they were fluffy, ornamental. Maybe insulating, like a prehistoric feather boa. Even the colors are still visible, chestnut brown on top, pale underneath. Classic countershading, just like modern animals use for camouflage. Scientists even found traces of proteins, hemoglobin and ferritin, ghosts of molecules from a creature that lived almost 100 million years ago. The haunting part is how the skin, ligaments and muscle cling to the tiny bones. Maybe the dinosaur was already dead when the resin flowed over it, or maybe it got stuck alive, too small to escape. Either way, amber captured the moment forever. If you could reach out and touch this tail today, would you dare? And which would be scarier, scaly raptors or fluffy feathered ones sneaking through the ferns? The third fossil feels more like a horror story. In 2015, scientists described a 20-million-year-old flea in amber from the Dominican Republic. At first, it seemed rare but straightforward until they noticed something clinging to it. Inside its gut and even in dried droplets on its mouthparts were clusters of bacteria that looked almost identical to the plague. Yes, the same type of bacteria responsible for wiping out half of Europe in the 14th century. Now, this wasn't the exact same strain. It was likely an ancient ancestor of Yersinia pestis, but the resemblance is chilling. Imagine rodents bitten by fleas like this one, carrying plague tens of millions of years before humans even walked the earth. A plague older than humanity itself. Do you think fleas really started plagues, or is this just coincidence? And tell me, if Jurassic Park cloned this flea instead of a dinosaur, would you run for the exit? From terror we move to tragedy. One of the most beautiful and heartbreaking amber fossils ever discovered is a baby bird, no bigger than your thumb, trapped in resin 99 million years ago. Inside the golden tomb are delicate claws, tiny wings, part of its head and even its ear opening. It belonged to the Enantiornithines, an extinct group of birds that lived alongside dinosaurs but were wiped out in the asteroid impact. This chick was only days old, yet its wings were already feathered for flight, meaning these birds may have been able to fend for themselves almost immediately after hatching. Some feathers were mid-molt, frozen in transition. Its colors were browns, grays, and whites, a natural camouflage against predators. But instead of flying, the resin swallowed it whole. Scavengers tore at it, then more resin sealed it forever. Would you cradle this fragile fossil in your hand, or would it feel too much like holding a tragedy? And if you had the choice, would you bring back this baby bird or the fluffy raptor tail? Finally, we come to the fossil that sparked controversy across the world. In 2020, scientists announced what they thought was the smallest dinosaur ever discovered, a tiny skull in amber, smaller than a hummingbird. They named it Oculudentavis. Headlines exploded, hummingbird-sized dinosaur found. It seemed like the holy grail of fossils, but almost immediately doubts appeared. The skull looked suspiciously like a lizard, and the fossil came from Myanmar, where amber mining is linked to dangerous, exploitative conditions and even conflict. Paleontologists faced a dilemma: study these fossils and risk fueling violence, or refuse and lose specimens to the jewelry trade. The paper was eventually retracted, and further study revealed the truth. Oculudentavis wasn't a dinosaur at all. It was a bizarre lizard that had evolved bird-like proportions. It is still fascinating, a lizard cosplaying as a bird, but it wasn't the world's smallest dinosaur. Instead, it became a lesson in humility. Amber doesn't just trap ancient animals. It exposes the human cost of how we study them. Should we continue to study controversial fossils like this, or should they be left untouched? So what have we seen? A sticky-toed gecko, smaller than a fingernail, a feathered dinosaur tail that proves raptors were fluffy, a flea carrying plague bacteria older than humans, a baby bird frozen mid-life, and a lizard once mistaken for the tiniest dinosaur in history. Amber doesn't just preserve bodies. It preserves stories, snapshots of evolution, tragedy, and even ethical dilemmas. And it leaves us with one final question. Would you risk opening a real Jurassic Park? Or should Amber's secrets remain sealed forever? This is Extinct Bones. Subscribe to uncover more lost worlds. And next time we'll look at fossils that rewrote the story of T-Rex. If you could own just one of these amber fossils, the gecko, the dinosaur tail, the plague flea, the baby bird, or Oculudentavis, which one would you choose?